We had decided after we had Emma that our family was just right and that we were done. And when Emma was about 2 years old, she started talking about her baby sister. We decided that there were children out there that really needed a family, and so that we would adopt. And we decided, after looking at all the options, that foster care was the route we were going to take. And one of the kiddos that was in the program staying with us at our house, he was 4 years old, and he had some pretty significant delays and challenges. And one of those was elopement, which simply means he would run off at a moment's notice. We had installed special locks high up on the doors, but this day Nico decided to go out the doggy door. The other kids ran in the house and told my husband. He quickly went outside and looked, and he didn't see him in the driveway, so he got in his car, and that's when he met up with a police officer. So it was probably less than 10 minutes. So the police officer was talking to my husband, and he said, well, all I saw was a little Hispanic boy on a trike, and I didn't know where they belonged. And he said he didn't like that we had so many children. Why do you have so many children? And I kind of explained to him about our family, how we were a blended family through adoption, and we had kiddos with special needs. And he said that he didn't like how many children we had, so he was going to make a CPS referral. Several days later, there was a card on our door from a CPS investigator. I called and left a message, and she wanted to talk to us, and I had no reason to be afraid of her. So I invited her in, and she spoke to the children, and we walked around, and I told her what happened, and she said, I don't even know what this is all about. I don't have any problems with your family. This is fine. Didn't hear from her again for a month. And that's when the armed constable showed up our house and took our children. It was early afternoon, after lunch. A couple of the kiddos were outside. Emma was one of those that was outside. She came running in, crying hysterically that there were a bunch of police officers at our house. And I opened the door and looked, and there were 3 constable cars and armed constables coming up the driveway, and I thought, oh my gosh, are they serving a warrant at the wrong house? I didn't know, I had no idea they were actually coming to my house. And they said, well, we need to take you and your kids to the CPS office for a meeting with the caseworker. They put the children in their police cars without car seats or seatbelts and took them to the CPS office, and I didn't see my children again for 3 weeks. When I got to the CPS office, the worker came out and asked me why I was there. And I said I didn't understand, and she said, well, you're probably not going to, but I already have them, so it's already done. And then she told me I had to leave her office.
THSC first came into the Tutt case a couple months after it had started, when we started to understand the issues behind it and that this was a direct threat on homeschooling, and that's one of the reasons they were investigating this family. And then just the serial abuse of the courts and the CPS system to ignore what the law clearly said.
This case was so egregious that the state would come after a family with virtually no grounds.
So when THSC heard about our case, they recognized what it meant for all homeschooling families in Texas, and they recognized that it was a precedent that they couldn't allow to be set.
At the 14-day hearing, the state argued that the children were not being educated. So homeschooling was a central issue in the argument that the state made.
One of the other issues that came up was whether or not homeschooling could be a reason to investigate the family, because one of the original arguments the CPS brought to the first hearing was the family had no state-approved homeschooling curriculum, which doesn't even exist. There's no such thing.
So after the children had been in foster care for almost 2 months, the judge ordered the return of 4 of our 7 children. She also ordered that they be made to attend public school. We went back and forth in court for a very long time, which was really confusing to me. I didn't understand how they could keep Kira and not send her home with her brother and sister. We were in the process of adopting Kira when all of this happened. We were about a week away. Ultimately, after lots of threats being made by CPS, we were living in fear of them showing up and taking the children. They were making more false allegations, and we were given a choice that no one should have to make. We could protect these 4 children we had at home, or we could keep fighting to bring Kira home, knowing that they were still going to try to take these 4 again. And that was really hard because it felt like we were giving her away.
The case went for almost 3.5 years. on an 18-month statutory deadline.
The law requires that these cases be concluded in 12 months or at the most 18 months, but that law was ignored.
To us, the fact that all of the courts were ignoring that issue was significant. So we took that to the legislature to keep other families from having that same problem. And likewise, we took the homeschooling issue to the legislature. And we passed legislation on both of those issues.
The bills passed this legislative session will make sure that other families don't have to endure what we endured. We were finally able to return to homeschooling our children. I really feel like if we had had THSC at the very beginning, if I had picked up the phone and called the hotline at the very beginning, I think this would have ended with nothing. I think CPS would have just walked away. I don't know what we would have done if THSC hadn't come up beside us and lifted us up. We didn't know what to do.
You know, there are a lot of folks who say, you know, I've never had a problem. And I think Christina Tutt would tell you that she used to be in that camp. She knew the process, she knew the law, and yet when the system came after her, she needed an advocate. We at THSC are relentless in defending families and keeping Texas families free. Thank you for helping us do that.